into harm's way. A fight, therefore, for our moral authority is at stake here. And I hope that we will have real soon, Madam Chair, Congresspeople, run an emergency trip to Haiti. Put our bodies on the line as witnesses, necessary living sacrifices to make visible this plight. We can't just look at the Haitian crisis and people roaming the streets in desperation and political upheaval to shrug our shoulders and make this a part of the bureaucratic rhythm of this is the way life is. Life does not have to be this way. We're the #1 agricultural system in the world, the most malnourished nation in the world in our hemisphere. We are the #1 agricultural producing system in the whole world. In our hemisphere, most starvation. That does not pass the smell test of dignity and decency. So, we urge our President to act. We urge our Congress to act. We urge religious leaders to act, begin to demonstrate in our own country, show a sense of moral rage and indignation. A few days ago, we all commemorated 40 years since the killing of Dr. King. 40 years later, we are making the most weapons, building the most own weapons, and we're dropping them, occupying even more countries today than 40 years ago. 40 years later, we're still engaged in a war. We're losing lives and money and honor. 40 years later, we're measuring ourselves by who has the most and not by how we treat the least of these. So I want to thank the congressional leaders for moving so quickly, legislatively and other forms of action. You, Dr. Daniels, for your commitment. You, Sister Clarke, because there's so many Haitians in your district, and there's so many Haitians in the districts of Congressman Meeks and Council Hastings. The fact is, all of us are part of the human family. And the malnutrition, starvation, Haiti is creating turmoil. I repeat one more time, not long ago, we saw a political crisis that we were a factor in. We intervened, the military, to take the democratically elected leader out to Central Africa. It's time to intervene now. But intervene in ways that has a moral foundation. Intervene now with food and medicine and a plan of distribution. And a plan to protect Haitians who are here, and we cannot have one set of rules for Cubans and one for Haitians. This so-called distinction between political and economic refugees is almost one and the same. Those who escape from Haiti for their lives, they may have left because they're hungry, or politically threatened, and are both. So there's a distinction without a difference. Any immigration reform plan must include how we deal with Haitians and Cubans, Mexicans and Europeans. It must be comprehensive and consistent. We cannot blatantly have one policy to seek Cubans in the same breath turn Haitians away in the name of they don't fit the bill of being political, economic victims of poverty. Thank you very much.
Let me again thank Reverend Jackson and Rainbow Push. As he said, he called me and Kendrick Meek, who has the largest number of Haitians in his district in Miami, and Representative Alcee Hastings, who has a large number in his district. And we have been talking among ourselves, and I think that Reverend Jackson has suggested of making a trip. I know I spoke to Congressman John Conyers, who may be on his way. He's been focused on Haiti. Maxine Ward is looking to do something to go so that we can, bring attention to what is taking place in Haiti, because we can't be silent when we have human lives, human beings dying the way they're dying, and thereby fighting. We talk about democracy, but there can be no democracy if people don't eat. And you get the people in Haiti right now eating mud to sustain themselves. That is something that cannot be tolerated. and Congresswoman Clarke, who has the largest number of Haitians, I think it's third in the nation in her district, fighting so long to try to help the plight of Haitians, as Reverend Jackson said, to make sure that Haitians and Cubans are treated equally. I'd like to call up from the state of New York my good friend, Congresswoman Clarke.
Madam Chairwoman, Reverend Jackson, to Congressman Meeks for convening us, and my colleague Jan Schakowsky, and of course to my brother who has been in the struggle, Dr. Ron Daniels. You know, this is a moment, a defining moment for us as a nation, as we seek answers to what is happening to our global economy, what is happening to our economy vis-a-vis the globe. We have to look at the hemisphere in which we reside. And for too long, the United States has turned a blind eye to its neighbors. I serve on the Homeland Security Committee, and I can tell you that having a nation at such a level of lack of development, let alone developing, with open seas to the United States, creates a vulnerability not only for the development of that nation, but for the security of ours. I want to talk to you about people who are starving today, people who will wake up tomorrow with no means of being able to provide for themselves or their children. And we can basically float there in less than 2 hours from our shores. This is an incredible humanitarian crisis. It's a terrible political and economic crisis. And for too long, again, we have said them over there. Well, I have one of the largest concentrations of Haitian Americans in the United States. And for them and for our community, it's a travesty. When we see how the United States is spending money endlessly in a conflict in Iraq and a conflict in Afghanistan, and we look at the strength that we should have as a region, as a hemisphere, we're not there. We're in the 21st century, and the fact that we could tolerate to see on CNN people creating meals from mud without hearing the outcry of this nation says just how desensitized we've become. Well, we here today say, no, we will not tolerate this. Alcee Hastings on the floor talking about debt relief for Haiti says, no, we will not tolerate this. Ron Daniels, Reverend Jackson coming today to say, no, we will not tolerate this. And we have set up a series of actions to begin to address this, but it's only the beginning. You want to stop the starvation, but you got to talk about the economic underpinning of this nation that enables people to actually be in poverty. To have 80% of your population subsisting on less than $2 a week is a travesty. With the cost of fuel and the cost of foods rising, and we're struggling in the United States to be able to make ends meet. Imagine being a person who resides in an area where dollars are few and far between. We have got to make that change today. We have got to shift and push so that this administration, one, first of all, gets that humanitarian aid into the network of NGOs on the ground to get distribution throughout the nation. We need to start there, as Dr. Jackson has said, food and medications. Because from this unhealthy diet are going to come an abundance of illness. In addition to that, we now need to talk about what should be in place in terms of real discussions with the United States and collaboration for the growth and development of Haiti. To have this type of level of economic instability so close to our borders is not in our best interest. And when we're looking at strategic partnerships around the world, I think we need to start down south. We need to take a look at the Caribbean region. We need to take a look at the Mexican border. We need to take a look at these areas that keep us all vulnerable in our survival as humankind. So I want to again thank my colleagues for stepping up and